Hello and welcome to my 300th video. Most of my most popular videos are how-to videos. They're kind of fun to make for people, sort of. What I really like making is all my sports videos and dumb updates of my projects. But I just got this bike. This bike I got for free as sort of a trade-in for advice and help and maybe the occasional part from another kid who goes to Sunday salvage sales with me all the time. He's also just started advertising like crazy on Facebook and Instagram. He started a real clear your unwanted bikes sort of thing. It's kind of like a junk removal service, but just for bikes. And then he does very minor tune-ups and tweaks to the bikes and sells them for really cheap. So he's blasting bikes out like crazy because he's putting almost nothing into them and selling them all for like $150. Basically pumping the tires up and making sure the brakes working. Hoping. So that's pretty fun. He's really into it. Him and his dad are doing it together. But I wanted this bike. I saw it at salvage sales. I wanted it real bad. It's a real low-end Motivacon French Grand Touring with all the Frissues in the world, and we'll cover what Frissues are, which are French issues. But someone at some point, I doubt it came stock, put this Stronglight 49D crank on here. And it might have the correct bottom bracket, and the bottom bracket, it's a little loose, but man, it's spinning. The rings are a little wow wow wow. It's got some Sun Tour derailleurs. It's got the clamp-on style rear, which is really nice for cheap bikes like this that don't have built-in derailleur hangers, just like stamped steel dropouts. Sometimes I need that. People wreck them and destroy them. I usually have about one or two of these at a time, and usually end up using them pretty quick on some customer's bike, or an old bike like this. This thing's also cool because it's got no braze-ons really, and it's got a couple of cable stops. They're really ugly, weird ones. I think they're supposed to have a little plastic thing in them. Guaranteed built 1020 tubes, forks and stays. That just means like high 10, I think. It just means junk. It does have the cool Pletcher kickstand with the built-in spring thing. Pletcher rear rack. These things are amazing. They don't weigh anything. You can do a shockingly lot with them. I've definitely left these on cuter bikes before that I didn't care about because you can open this thing, you can stuff a jacket in here, you can stuff a to-go food box in here real easy. Someone's saying you could fit 3 pizzas in one of these things and clamp it down and not slide off. I don't know, I got a soft spot in my heart. This bike is not a bike to save. This is a bike to talk about French issues, and this is a bike to pull these parts off. With a good Sun Tour power ratchet clamp-on shifters. It's got 27-inch aluminum wheels. The rear is a lot more modern. The front might even be original. They're probably not really worth anything. I have a lot of 27-inch wheels I don't care about. Probably too many, unless these things have like perfect, which they kind of look like no brake wear, round and true, no issues at all. I'm not going to save them. Got a cool old French headset I might actually save because it's not very rusty. It's cool and it's French. You need those for sometimes. Oh, it says Stronglight competition, at least in the lock nut. I wonder if that's true. I think it also has the Pivo depth stem. So it's Pivo on the side, big hole in the back. I think there's a lot of stems, these big holes in the back that are fine. I think the Pivo ones are pretty notorious for cracking and breaking. I'm not 100% sure if this is that Pivo depth stem model, but might be. I might also end up using this on my Allegro just to put some danger in my life. It's got some Pivo bars that might be in good shape, some cheap Lehman levers. I think this had Mayfac brakes on it, like racers. I think he took them off. Otherwise, he took the seat off. Otherwise, I think it's in as-found condition. So I figure I'm going to do this video on how to remove Stronglight or TA old French cranks. They are not like Japanese cranks. They're not like Shimano or Sugino. It's kind of a lie. They're a lot like them, except for they're all French. The Stronglights, these used a 23.3 millimeter thread puller, where all your Park thread pullers, all your English stuff, it's all 22.2. So I'll just fall right in and fall right out. You can't thread it in. TA used I believe it's 23.0. So it seems real similar, and you can thread that in, and once you try and pull it off, it'll just pull the threads out because it's barely grabbing them. So you have to know the difference. A guy here in America makes a tool called J.A. Stein Tool Company, makes a bunch of rare cool tools. He makes a TA and a Stronglight little crank puller like this. This one's actually from a guy in Poland who's remaking a lot of vintagey parts. And this one, you can see it's got threads on both sides. So one side is French for TA, and the other side is Stronglight. The Stein ones are nice because he stamps them what size they are. These ones are not stamped. But I feel like that one's obviously bigger in Stronglight. I will carefully check in a minute when we go to pull these off. This one's dirtier, and I know I've pulled a couple of Stronglight cranks, so maybe this is the Stronglight one. I need to check, and then I need to stamp this tool. So it's big, giant wrench flats. I'll take my little metal stamps and a hammer, and I'll stamp like 23.3, and then we'll do it upside down and stamp like 23.0, so I can tell which side is which. But this tool is insanely cheap. I think it was 30 or 40 bucks. And the Steins are like 60 or 70 a piece, and it works good, other than not being labeled. So another French thing is the bottom bracket on French bikes are different. They're 35 by 1 millimeter pitch threads, where I think English stuff I have a zillion around here. I should know it's like 137 by 24 or something, 1.37 inches by 24, standard threads. French also often have French-sized tubes, metric-sized tubes. So the front derailleur is actually different. Like instead of being 28.6, I think these are just straight up 28 or 29. I don't remember. And the top tubes are 25 or 26 millimeters instead of 25.4. Because I didn't really care about English threading. Headset's French threaded. And to top that off, to make it even worse, there's a lot of Swiss bikes out there, which are mostly French. A lot of Swiss bikes, old vintage stuff, has French headsets. The bottom bracket are the 31 or the 35 by 1 thread pitch, but French is like Italian, where both sides are righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, where Swiss is like English stuff, where it's reverse thread on the drive side, so it doesn't come loose while you're riding, and normal righty-tighty on the non-drive side. So that's something to look out for too, when dealing with weird old bikes that could be French or Swiss or German. There's also Whitworth. There's a bunch of weird stuff. But let's get into the fun parts of this video. So if you want to know the trick to getting these old dust caps, this big, weird Kermit the Frog looking eye hole out, don't use a screwdriver, just mangle them. The real trick is to use these are cone wrenches for adjusting your axle cones. So like a regular wrench, but they're really, really thin. So getting into that tiny little nut on the lock nut, little tiny wrench flats. These things are best to use sideways. Yeah, there we go. So this nice, big, round, flat spot. You can really get into there pretty well. And then spin right out. See, I'm spinning the other crank instead of just turning this tool 500 times. Try it out on the other side as well. Woo-hoo! Sometimes these will fight you. Sometimes they'll start mangling. Sometimes you'll have to drill 2 holes in them and stick other tools and put pin spanners. And I've even chipped these out before. These break and the threads stay in. The face all breaks off. I've taken like a little hammer and chisel and just whack, 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 and just chip them all out, trying not to go all the way through and destroy the threads. This looks like it has the original crank bolts, which are nice and big. I think they're oversized. Most people are going to be at least kind of familiar with this Park tool, the CCW5. It's got the 8mm on one side and the 14mm on the other side for most normal crank bolts. They either have like the 8mm Allen or the 14. Not a chance with French stuff. These are probably going to be 16. I got a couple of vintage Park tools, the CCW15 and the CCW14. Oh, where's my 16, bro? 15's a lot of old Sagino stuff. Neither of these, probably the 16. You are kidding me, I don't have it out. I don't have it on my toolboard because you never need it, except for full French stuff, which I swear off of all the time, and then it's just so sexy. I just keep buying it. These old cranks are so light. And if you notice the tiny little bolt ring circle, TA made the same 50.4 BCD bolt ring. The Velo Orange, like Rando crank, is this way. The Sun XCD cranks are this way. And TA makes all the rings and all the sizes. So if you want to do a compact double 42, 26, you can. I'm running 44/28 on my rando bike, and they go all the way up into the 60s and all the way down. I think 24 is like the smallest you can get on here or something. TA sells most on their website with prices. I think you can order them directly from them in France if you know how to use Google Translate. I used to import them. One company here used to import them. I used to buy them from them and have them, but no more. But I do have to take a second and dig out my 16 millimeter crank bolt wrench. I have a TA one, not on the tool board for some reason, in this bin of all my spare tools. It's buried. And we're back, and I was wrong, which happens. I forget a lot of stuff all the time. I used to know more than I do not know now, that's for sure. Here's my old TA one. Guess what? Doesn't fit either. I don't know what size this TA one is. Maybe they made multiple sizes. Looks like a 14. But luckily, I had this weird tool hanging out down there. This is a Park Tool Co. Real early tool. It doesn't even have a number on it. It looks like it's got like a screwdriver on one side. Looks like maybe a tiny chunk of a 5 millimeter Allen wrench for reasons. The back side is a 15. The front side is a 16. This other side is a 14. And they're all just little shallow sockets that stick out just for this. And the 16 fits. Short video. Now this part's a little dangerous. Getting this crank bolt out, it is pretty easy to twist and push and fight and slip and smack your hands right into these chain rings. People always comment on my videos, they're always mad about it. A good way of doing this is to wrap the chain around this ring. You can't punch the chain. You can wrap a rag around it. Sometimes I'll even take this non-drive crank arm and I'll strap it to this side like a third hand and use like an old toe strap or something. I'm just gonna do it and hope I don't hurt myself. Pretty good at this. I usually don't. Usually. I've bled a lot. So I'm gonna hold this for leverage and push down on this side trying to punch these chain rings. Ugh. So I sort of felt it. I knew what it was about to give and I let off the pressure real fast. The second it moved, I let off the pressure so I wouldn't come down and hit those rings. And now I can just bring it off pretty nice and easy. Same thing, I'm spinning these cranks. Spinning. Instead of turning my hand on the tool 500 million times. I usually don't reuse French crank bolts because the metallurgy back then was real bad and they break pretty easy. Same thing with tie bolts. When I go to put this back on, this is pushed on so far, it's almost at the end. So I'm going to over-tighten this crank like crazy. I over-tighten cranks because of paranoia. I'm going to probably press on one more time, probably, hopefully. Now's a good time to mention SKF bottom brackets. They're in Herschels. Their tapers are oversized. So you can put an old, worn out, blown out, just about anything crank on one of those things and it presses on like brand new again and saves your crank. They're expensive, but they last forever and will save your cranks. You'll never have to take them off again. You never have to service them. You have to put like, I think they're guaranteed 10 years or 10,000 miles. And I know people have cut them open at 10 years and over 10,000 miles and cut them in half. Like I think Jan Hein did in an article, and it was still brand new on the inside, like brand new. They'll last forever. So with these old French ones or with tie ones, you want to press this crank on with like a regular 8 millimeter style bolt, and you really heft on and reef on and press on. Then you can pull it out and put the real bolt in, because you will snap one of these. You'll snap a tie bolt. All right, that is one down, one to go. Oh yeah. This old stuff was made to be a pretty light touch. I'm heavy and I break things and slip things, and I'm a hammer mechanic. I over-tighten a lot of stuff. I've broken a few things, not too many, but a lot of guys still try and do things too dainty. And if you're 120 pounds and ride gingerly, that's all right. But I've like been on some dainty bike mechanics bikes and go to do a panic stop and the cables just slip right through because you didn't tighten the pinch bolt enough. It's like, I don't want to mangle the cable. Well, I don't want to die in a panic. Like, mangle that cable. Cables are replaceable. My life's a little trickier. All right, so both crank bolts are off, both dust caps are off. We got this cool crank pulling tool. Let's try it. Now, this is something I really recommend. I don't always do this. I'm pretty lazy. But this is what I really recommend for amateurs. Pull the bolt all the way out of your crank puller. It's really easy to think you have this in tight, but really the bolt's actually just sticking in and touching the spindle, and so it feels tight. And this really could go in like another 2 or 3 turns. If you do that, it's not holding enough threads and it will tear the threads right out instead of pull the crank off. Alright, so here's that backside tool. It's going in loosey-goosey. I bet you that's the TA. Here's the big dirty one. I pull a lot more Stronglight cranks. Yeah, big dirty one's good. So I'm going to stamp and mark this. Should do it right now so I don't forget. Trick number 2. That's not tight enough. It has to be tool tight or there's a very good chance you'll pull the threads. And every time I know guys are like, I never put it tool tight. I never pull the threads. If they pull like 2 cranks ever, they will pull the threads before they get to 10. I'm sure of it. Put this on and just tool tighten it. Just snug it. We want that in. We want it tough. We don't want to lose those threads. And this bolt has a little bit of a chamfer on it. It probably needs more. It's starting to mangle that first thread. I might grind that off too. You really don't need it. Because this goes in and just presses right against that bottom bracket spindle. This is moving real weird. I wonder if this is machined a little crooked. I hope this is machined a little crooked and the cranks aren't crooked. Alright, so now it's all the way until it's touching the BB spindle. And now I can just tighten this bolt in. It's pressing through the tool, pressing against the bottom bracket spindle. So this big silver part is attached to the crank. This big black bolt is attached to the bottom bracket spindle. So we're just pushing against it. So it's just going to pull the crank while pushing against that spindle, and it should suck this crank right off. Same thing, you can slip really easy and hurt yourself, so be careful. Feel free to put a chain over the rings or a rag. Booyah! And we are off. Oh, I love old French stuff. It says 49D. Made in France. I'm just getting all this gross. 170, getting all this gross bike dirt right off underneath my fingernail. Gross stuff went out forever. A lot of old French cranks are stamped down here too. 9/16, was it 9/16 by 14 is English or something? The old French stuff stamped something weird. So if it's stamped English, or the English number, I think it's 9/16 by 14. The French number I think is metric. It means you have to use French. You'll have to use French pedals, or you can take an English pedal thread tap and tap through the crank and tap it over to English. I usually like to do it from the back side because the threads are the newest, especially if there's any damaged threads on the front. Sometimes you have to start on the front, but if you tap these crooked, your pedal will always be doing this under your foot instead of like just being flat as you spin around and be like, whoa, I'm crooked! It's totally doable. You want to buy some like Park pedal taps, like something halfway decent, and you know, one's left hand and one's right hand, so you gotta make sure you get the right ones. I've done it many, many times to save old French cranks. Back this bolt out. I'm going to get this big nut off out of the crank threads. Oh! Beauty, beauty, beauty. Even though it was pressed on too far. I bet you someone wrecked the cheap old cranks, or maybe this even had cotter cranks. And went to a shop, and this is like the only French thing they had sitting around. Because this thing has like no heel rub. Other being pressed on too tight. It is like almost brand new. Maybe they're the last one sitting around in a box. I'm like, oh, let's press these old weird French cranks on. This is the perfect bike to get rid of these old French cranks. I want to know the ring sizes too. This outer is a 52. I don't see a stamp on the inner anywhere. Jerks. Sometimes they did wild sizes. A lot of 45s and 6s and 7s. Might be a 42, I don't know. These are also really cool because you see it's a star pattern. These are really fun, like at Christmas time, a lot of old mechanics will take these and cut the teeth off or just hacksaw the star all the way up into a point. Make a little Christmas star or something. I've done it before. Or, you know, something else I like to do is cut the teeth off, just make it a bash guard, then you can run any inner size chain rings, that's BCD, for like a 1x, and have a bash guard that's really pretty instead of just having, you know, an ugly naked chain ring on the wrong side. These are also that weird 50.4 BCD, so they're not a big spider, they're nothing to bolt onto. So the only place this inner ring has to bolt onto is to the outer ring. So you basically have to make a bash guard if you want to do a 1x, or get a very specific TA outer ring in the small enough size, which they make. I have a TA 36 tooth outer ring. It's technically for tandems for the other side. So like tandems, both cranks are running together, so you have a timing chain between both on the left-hand side, and you have your regular right-hand drive stuff on this side. All right. Do the same thing on the other side and hope it doesn't die. Real bike mechanics usually work in a double stand like this. If there's somebody working on the other side, another bike. They don't usually flip bikes around. Sometimes I flip bikes around out of laziness or just to be extra careful. But really, oh, I did skip an important step. You notice these crank bolts when they came out have a built-in washer or have a not built-in washer. So a lot of modern crank bolts have the washer like machined in. It's not two pieces. It's really easy to pull this bolt out and accidentally leave this washer in, and when we go and try and use the crank puller, it's pushing against this washer against the spindle, so it can't actually suck the crank off. This washer's stopping it, so it just tears your threads right out. So make sure you get that washer. It's good to put eyeballs on this side. I should, just in case there's two washers or something, but I didn't. I just looked at my bench and there's both of them, so it's probably fine. Tool tight again. Then let's get this little guy. It'd be nice if this bolt had the same size head, so I can just switch the adjustment on my wrench. Can you see what I'm doing? I'm just sort of holding the crank arm and turning it. Like I said, you could use a tow strap and tie the crank arm down to something. All right, this one came off. It also says made in France. Is aluminum a little bit weird? Don't be weird, aluminum. Might have went on a little rough. It's not blown out, but it's slightly deformed, but it's French. Old French metallurgy was the worst. The chrome was the worst. It's always flaking off everything. I've broken many of these old Stronglight cranks. Blown out some old cranks. I've snapped a few of these old cranks. They're so light. I was like, modern cranks are so light. This Darius crank is so light. And you're like, no, they're not. They're heavy as shit. These old French cranks are light. That's why you see them on a lot of rando bikes and high-end vintage lightweight bikes. The TAs came on a lot of stuff. Mostly because you can get different chainring sizes for them and stuff, but so light. And before I put these back on, I'm going to clean them up really good. Clean all the dirt and gunk out of those tapers, threads. Really give them a look. This one looked like it had cracks all over it, but it's really just, I think it's that maybe a hair wrapped around it that made a bunch of dirt lines. And it scrapes right off, not cracks. These things are in great shape. They're in shockingly good shape. No heel rub at all. I don't think these have a ton of miles. I really don't. Gorgeous. I'm also going to go ahead and try and get this French bottom bracket out while we're at it, and pull the rest of the parts off, and probably put this frame in the free box. I don't care. Sometimes these old frames are fun to make fixed gears out of if you want to deal with all these Frissues. I am going to flip it around to show the other side for the camera. It'll be easier. It'll be easier for me. I'm also going to pop these wheels out because they are annoying and in the way. On the bike I'm stripping, it's no big deal. On a customer's bike, you don't really want to mess with their brake adjustment or mess with their wheels. Sometimes you start messing with some customer's ratty old bike that I brought in to fix one thing. Everything else is about to snap and break too. I've lost my ass on that a few times. Guys, do this or do that. I'm like, this cable's about to snap. Like don't touch anything else. I'm like, but it's all in there goofy. I gotta take the wheel out to be able to do this repair. It's impossible to get it back in. You end up spending 3 times as much time as you built them for just to try and get it wiggled back in and adjust it all half-assedly again to back where they had it all wrong, just so they could actually ride it out of there. It's a little horrifying. People ride a lot of death bikes, just trying to kill themselves. So I'm not sure. I guess I should show it. I'm not sure. Should I just call that my 300th video? Nah, I want to look at this bottom bracket. I want to see if it's dead. I want to see if it's strong with competition. It's nice, man. I'm going to reuse it. I want to make sure it's French. Oh, why didn't I pull the back wheel out? All right, I flipped this bad boy around so you can see the lock ring. It's a ring. It's got some teeth in it. It looks great too. It's got little wrench flats. This is probably really all weird French sizes. I might have that tool somewhere. I probably don't. Here's a random assortment of lock ring wrenches. Here's the Hosan ones, really like a fixed gear cog one. Here's an old Sagino one. Here's a weird Park one for 35 mil and a weird adjustable hook spanner. This is the normal Park one. The HCW13 for the regular 36 mil cups. And a big three-way thing. I'm gonna try them all and see what fits best. Oh, this Park tool's not too bad. Look at that, it's already super loose. French, but this is the side that shouldn't come loose, which is even weirder. I want to look at this Sagino. Oh, that's much nicer. This really sits all the way in the tooth instead of like barely up and out, so you're gonna mangle that little square indent for the tooth. The Sagino one fits nice. All right. The Hosan one side's too big, one side's too little. So Sagino one, all the French stuff is righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, so we come over here, put it on the lock ring and go lefty-loosey, and it's spinning, the cup's spinning too. This is kind of a best case situation because, man, sometimes bottom brackets are in here and in here, tight, like real tight, real hard to get out without all the trips and special tools and creativity and cheater bars. I might just to show you on the other side. This side's finger tight, it's moving independently of that cup. I'll take it out, I'm gonna flip it back around, get the other side loose first while this one's in here sort of supporting its weight. So we got this side around again. It is a French. It is a big, giant, weird octagon. Might have a little damage. It's like, it's got little wrench flats, and then for some reason they're filed into just like trying to design it to slip. I don't think there's a chance in hell it's gonna fit this 30, I think that's 36. 35 mil tool. Yeah, most of the English stuff for Japanese stuff says 2 wrench flats. This is this whole octagon. So not a chance. I'm sure the correct tool exists for this. I don't know what it is or where it is. I don't think I have one. I've ever seen one. I got a lot of weird stuff. I got some old Zeus ones. I could dig my box of tools out again and dig through every bottom bracket wrench and try it. I don't think I have it. And it is so thin, and it is so hard, and it's probably righty-tighty, lefty-loosey instead of reverse-threaded. This trick's a little hard. So this trick is a little hard. I'm hoping this thing's in loose. This is a big boy, 15-inch wrench. And the sides are a little mangled, and that thing's real thin. But there's a chance we can get this guy on here. Real carefully. Ah! How did that happen? So thin. Real carefully. Not spin around and mangle this cup a bunch. There's a chance. It's not a very good chance. Yeah, it's just going to want to slip. Sometimes if something won't turn, I like to go the other way and make it tighter because it might break the seal a little bit by trying to tighten it. Or maybe you're threading it the wrong way. You go the other way and it'll teach you a lesson about that. Tighten the stand. Or I can dig out all my tools and see if I magically have this really weird old French bottom bracket tool, which I probably don't. Worst comes to worst, I might clamp this in the vise really carefully around that lip. You can only sink it down like 2 millimeters. It's so delicate. Try and turn the whole frame. Here's a cool old Schwinn branded one for Navarre, Shimano, Sagino, Zeus, and TA, so it's probably just a regular old 36. This side's just stamped Navarre, but I think it's 24, and nope. There's everything at the top of the pile. 25 mil, not a chance. It's 36, also not a chance. I definitely see a lot of mechanics going just grind one of these tools to a weird shape. Here's a 40. What is a 40 for? I don't know, but not this. It's definitely smaller than that. It's probably like a 37 or 38. 31, not a chance. Vintage Cyclo, made in England, 32. That's very small. Definitely not a chance. And the exact same vintage Cyclo, made in England. Interesting. There are some tricks that might help. Maybe not that wrench though. This is my 12-inch Craftsman, and yeah, it's just too small. It's always too small. So now we get into some real tricky stuff. I'm gonna try use like an old crank bolt and some big washers and try and pinch a big washer against that big wrench on here and get this off. Thread the other side back in so it's as least wiggly and wobbly as possible. Here is one of my many bags of tricks for tight and stuck bottom brackets. Crank bolts, long bolts of the same crank thread, a bunch of giant washers, and try and figure out a way to hold this tool on. You always take the file and grind these mushed and squished edges. Try and get this thing sitting on here as best as possible without a burr, a squished edge. Pushing it over and keeping it from actually being on that cup as much as possible. Come on, tool. Always turn these things the wrong way. Always loosen when I want to tighten, tighten when I want to loosen. It's very frustrating. This doesn't go all the way on. Can we just do a bunch of washers? Will that do it? Maybe. Let's see what kind of convoluted nonsense I can come up with. Push on this and see if this will even do it. It will, barely, but it will. I'm using a freewheel tool as a spacer. Giant washer on the end of that, but I found some junk piles. Some giant washers on this side. Up against the freewheel tool. Some real convoluted nonsense. Just a little bit loose. Smushing this wrench all the way on here. Don't slip. Alright, this should be, in theory, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. In theory. That's what this one is, right? Yeah. It's French. Oh. No, it's just trying to round it out. You gotta be tighter, bro. You gotta be tighter. You gotta get on here and get tight. You gotta be tight. Don't round out the bottom bracket. No, it just wants to round it out. Let's try going the other way. Oh, it moved, it moved, it moved. And it wants to go the other way. This thing is not righty-tighty. Yes, it is. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Well, do I have any business making these videos? Well, I've been doing this for 20 years. So righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. That trick worked. As you can see, crappy old wrench is on there tight and pinched up against the actual bottom bracket shell itself, just by a millimeter around those threads. Big giant washer, big freewheel, just to take up the space of the spindle. Some other washers just to take up space. And this long crank bolt, threaded bolt, which I think is M8x1, but I don't actually remember. Ooh. And I use this 14 mil to really tighten this bolt down, really hold this tool as tight as possible. Against the cup. This turn is really stuck on there because it definitely, yeah, it's almost rounded it out. It moved a little bit. It caused some damage. I need to get the right tool. I never do, and I think it's because it's rounded off, you know, it's got like 6 wrench flats. It rounded off one of them a little bit. But usually these old French bottom brackets are totally dead, so it doesn't really matter. Usually. But now, it's moving. It's moving. God, I gotta find out what size this is. So now it's moving. Even though I gotta put the tool on it, it barely takes any effort with the tool. By hand, it's still like insanely hard. And for drive side cups, all the Japanese and English cups are reverse threaded because this cup likes to come loose from your pedaling motion. When you're just pedaling and pedaling and pedaling, it'll sort of. There's something weird about the pedaling and geometric forces will make this cup come loose. That's why the Japanese and English and Swiss all reverse threaded this cup. So it gets tighter instead of looser as you pedal. So this thing barely has anything for the wrench to grab onto, but this side really has to be in tight. Otherwise it'll come loose while you're riding. I've definitely done that on people's bikes. I definitely remembered that, not remembered it right, didn't put it on tight, and it came loose on the first long ride. And you're like, oh, sorry. Hope we didn't wreck anything. What did I just lose? Oh, it's probably just a bearing. Something just fell out of this thing. You can see this is free cup, ball, and bearing. This grease is old and dirty. Been ridden on dry. Good chance of a little bit of pitting or Brunel. Stronglight, so you can read this thing from the non-drive side. Bearings flying everywhere. The bearings, I think, are just a standard 1/4 inch bearing. No big deal. I don't put used bearings back in anyways. I will always put grade 25 brand new bearings in. They make cheaper bearings. All the bikes came with cheap bearings. Grade 25 is not that much more. Oh my god, it's $2 per bottom bracket instead of 78 cents. Who cares? Put the good stuff in. Make your bikes last. $2. It's not like one's $25 and the other one's 60 cents or something. Like, it's not ridiculous. $100 versus $5. Like, I used to charge $2 per thing, or maybe I started $2 per side. I have to look and see how much bearings are again. This came out. That's exciting. I definitely want to save it and use it. Bearings. And there's no inner sleeve or anything in there, so I'll steal an inner sleeve off a Japanese thing or something. I've seen guys take cardboard. I've seen guys like write their name and info. If this bike's found, please return to. Like, the cops are going to pull apart the bottom bracket. I'd rather info on like a piece of wax cardboard and put that in, just so water and dew collecting inside the tube doesn't drain down and get your bearings. Little plastic accordion things that go inside bottom brackets. You should use them. I'm sure a lot of old racers didn't make them seem cool because like they're gonna pull their bottom brackets apart all the time. They're always overhauling bottom brackets. Dumb stuff like that. But that is my video on how to remove French cranks. It's also my 300th video. I'm gonna pull the rest of this bike apart. There's nothing probably exciting about it. I'll turn the camera back on if I find something real exciting I gotta share. But I probably won't. This is probably a weird size too. It's got plier marks on it. Big adjustable wrenches, you gotta have at least that 12. And I find that I need that 15-inch a lot. 15 inches are insanely expensive in the tool store, even at Harbor Freight or discount tool stores. Like, find them at a used place, find them at a garage sale. I literally think a friend of mine found that for me on the side of the road. It probably fell off some workman's truck, you know, it was left on the bumper and drove away or something. But that's it. Thanks for watching. And I just did like 3 videos this week already on scores with last weekend, this weekend, and the swap meet. They're good videos if you love vintage bike parts and like good deals. And I know I have a couple former bike mechanic friends who, like, you know, have wives and kids moved on their lives and stuff, and some tell me they like watching them just so they can sort of live vicariously through me and remember we're so excited to be a bike mechanic or own a shop or go get like a whole box of something off Craigslist for really cheap. It's all bike parts and digging through and hoping you make your money back by selling some of the parts and having some usable stuff. It's fun. It's fun. It keeps me from having a real day job, which I just can't do anymore. Even though I barely make any money doing this, I seem to just barely get by. I'm getting by. Anyways, yeah, that's my video. Thanks for watching. I'm definitely gonna pull this headset out too, but it's like normal. Pull the other parts off. But I'll catch you in video 301. Bye.